Lore Boys! Back at it again with what's really important. If you're listening to this while you're stuck at home, we hope you are safe, sane, and keeping busy, and would, of course, like to thank you for tuning in. I, as always, am Peter O'Donohue, and I am joined with Ethan.
Hi, I'm Ethan.
And
I'm a host on this show.
Jamie.
Hi, I'm James Miller.
Now, you guys ever heard of Dota?
I've heard of that
yeah.
song.
It's what you do when you really like someone, right? You Dota on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Dota is one of the biggest games on the planet right now. It is a MOBA, like League of Legends, and it used to be a mod for Warcraft 3, which is from a series that no one here has ever heard of.
Oh, it's based off of the Hearthstone universe, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it was originally a Hearthstone mod.
Okay, got that.
This is technically another World of Warcraft episode.
It's always a World of Warcraft episode. So personally, I played the tutorial and one round of Dota 2 once, basically just because I was fucking terrible at it. And someone in another country told me I was terrible and wrong about everything. This, for me, has manifested as a fetish. So for our episode, I have the pleasure of introducing someone from another country who is here to tell me I am terrible and wrong about everything. I would like to introduce the first lady of lore, the lore lady, Anger. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Anger. I make videos on YouTube about the lore of the Dota universe, and I also play all 3 of the Dota IP games. So that's blue. And I also post memes sometimes on Twitter.
You're a pretty decent shit poster.
Do you consider Artifacts part like one of the official IPs still, or is it dead?
Of course, didn't you hear, like, just the other day, or was it yesterday, actually?
Yesterday,
they're
I
making
think.
Artifact 2. Like, the long haul is real. They're actually working on it still.
I like Dota. I'm not sure why they're doubling down with Artifact 2.
Artifact 2.
It was the perfect card game. Why do you say that?
Yeah.
Maybe your IQ was just too low.
Oh, that's it. he's too slope-browed to understand Artifact.
we used the tongs. We did some phrenology on Jamie, and Dota was he didn't get onto the Dota chart. Or
Why do
Artifact 2 big brain.
Why does I want to play 3 card games at once?
when one card worked best?
Yeah. I struggle enough with one card game, so
yeah.
I'll throw my hat in the ring for Magic the Gathering as far as best card games go. But
well, the MTG guy worked on Artifact, and then when it didn't do gangbusters in a week, he was just like, "I hate it. This is a failure." And then,
I actually blame Richard Garfield entirely for why Artifact failed, because he is a fucking boomer who thinks that you can still take that much money for a card game in 2019 or 18 when it came out, when people are used to fucking Fortnite and things are free, and Hearthstone.
Hearthstone, exactly.
And Gwent even, which nobody fucking plays, but it's still free.
But I agree that Magic the Gathering is probably the best card game.
I mean, expensive though. But I mean, Hearthstone like bottled some lightning, but I think it was really just the fact that it was Blizzard behind it. And I, as a reformed Blizzard addict, I fully jumped on board for Hearthstone just because, like, oh, it's a Blizzard IP, of course I'll get it. And
we
now,
can't get Jamie into Blizzard rehab now because of the quarantine, so we can't save him from himself quite yet.
Yeah. I think poker's the best card game, but
okay,
that's just...
Go Fish.
Yeah, Go Fish. Uno.
Uno's that's because there's an Uno meta coming up right now, and it's gonna shake things up, I think.
Dude,
well, they just announced that you can't stack pickup twos.
Really?
Yeah, official
What?
statement.
Oh, no.
Official statement from the creators of Uno. That's not a lie.
What about ending it with a color changer?
No, you can't end it with a color changer either.
Where are you getting your Uno info?
I got it on Twitter. It came up.
We're going into
I don't know who I
Uno
follow.
sandbox right now.
So welcome to the Uno lore episode of the Lore.
So, in case you were confused by our long-winded and pointless intros, we're going to be doing Dota 2, or the Dota-verse in this episode, covering Dota, Dota 2, the creation of the universe, some of the important characters at that time, as well as Artifact and Underlords, because despite the fact they may not be culturally relevant, they are very relevant to this podcast which is not culturally relevant either. So you might say that we have a lot in common with Artifact, personally.
Yeah, I'll say we did kind of meme that it was built in Warcraft 3, but it wasn't. So back in the original Warcraft 3 days, if you made a custom map, you retained creative rights to it, and that's kind of how Dota came to
Custom
be.
maps, yeah.
And yeah, that was the nail in the coffin that got me off Blizzard, was the fact that the new Warcraft 3 remake, they officially said, like, no, nobody retains creative rights. So if somebody makes a Dota, Blizzard owns it.
Fuck them. They already have their own shitty Dota that they stopped supporting.
Exactly.
It's like if some nerd in his basement makes a better Dota than we did, then we get it because we couldn't figure it out. We couldn't figure it out twice. So, if before all time in existence was around and you were hanging out with some of your fellow gamers, where would you be?
Then you would find yourself in the Void,
There we
which
go.
is, according to Void Spirit, one of the newest Dota heroes. That's where all creation started. And then, basically, like, somebody once told me that the Big Bang of the universe in our world was that there was nothing, and then the nothing exploded,
Yeah.
and that was the Big Bang. And in Dota 2, it's kind of similar, but the void instead of the nothing. So the void exploded with the primordial mind. And the primordial mind, it's a bit unclear if the primordial mind existed with the void kind of similarly, or became after a while, or there's also Elder Titan, the guy who... Or wait, you're going to talk about that, right?
Oh, well, yeah, we'll definitely get to Elder Titan. But
So I shouldn't talk about him?
Daddy Titan.
Daddy Titan. Yeah, no, don't worry. We'll get to everything, but you're just like setting up all the pins here, and we'll knock them down eventually.
Okay.
So, like she said, within the void, the way I interpreted it, at least, the primordial mind kind of just showed up. This, I think, would be pre-Big Bang, at least in this one, because we do have a Big Bang coming up that we're gonna cover.
Yeah.
The primordial mind is kind of this super being that is the fusion of all possible life.
That's God, right?
Yeah.
The one
Something like
true God. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like all the jocks and all the nerds fused into the ultimate mind.
Oh my God.
Basically,
He's too powerful.
he is. Yeah, he could do calculus. He can cheat off his own homework. He can throw the perfect spiral.
He can date the lead cheerleader. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and then do her homework. And like Anger mentioned, another being apparently existed around here in the Void as well, which is the Elder Titan, who is a playable character in game. Theorized by some that the Elder Titan is actually the oldest thing in creation, but confirmed to be older at least than the Middle-aged Titan, the Teen Titan, and the Sweet Baby Titan.
Okay. What about Scary Titan?
Yeah, so Sporty Titan and Scary Titan haven't been created yet.
They haven't shown up in the Dotaverse yet.
Exactly. The Spice Titans haven't been formed, what with no planet existing yet.
You said that Elder Titan is the oldest thing the oldest being in existence. Is that excluding the Brain God, or
Well,
is
Anger,
that a
you can take
spoiler?
this one.
Yeah, it's very unclear. A lot of the lore is very vague. So what came first? We know that the void came first, and then we know then there was the primordial mind, and then we know which you will come back to probably in a second, the primordial mind exploded. But the thing that caused the explosion, the Elder Titan, like how does he fit into the timeline? We don't know.
Okay.
So exactly what like how that all works is very unclear.
Yeah.
So was Elder Titan an eco-terrorist who blew up the primordial mind, or the way you say it exploded? He was around and then he made it explode. Is just
Not quite yet. That's actually going to come up in a second. First, I want a little bit of Warcraft trivia. In the original mod, Elder Titan was called Tauren Chieftain, which was changed to something more generic for legal reasons. Because Taurens belong to Blizzard.
they do. Yeah.
Now, I know in one of your videos, Anger, you actually had a headcanon theory regarding the Elder Titan. Did you want to get into that?
Yeah, I know. That's going to be a bit controversial because I haven't really fully eased my audience into it, because there's another YouTube personality who very much disagrees with it or has another idea. But basically, I think the Elder Titan is the Omni-Urge. And have any of you heard about the Omni-Urge?
No, this is one of those things I left out for you specifically.
Yeah.
I think I experienced the Omni Urge in college. It was like
God.
But basically, it's in esoteric cosmology. It's about this one creator, the one consciousness. Basically, all of our souls combined. I don't believe in this, by the way. Just letting you know.
we believe in this for Dota, right?
Yeah, this is for Dota. And it also in real life. Some people believe in this in real life, especially in like the more spiritual Oriental countries. People actually, or people do believe in this. So, but the Omniurge is the one big creator. It's both everything that creates and everything that's created, and that both fits with the description of the primordial mind, and it fits with the description of Elder Titan. So my theory is that Elder Titan is the primordial mind, because in his lore he is referred to as the One. The Omniurge is referred to as the One, and he is referred to as the Elder Titan, the first creator. And you will come back to this shattering, but when he shattered the primordial mind, he also talks about shattering his own mind. So to me, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I know some people are probably not going to believe it.
As someone who's heard like 10 minutes of Dota lore ever, I'm convinced.
Yeah.
You sold it
what's
well.
our runtime right now? That's the extent of my Dota knowledge. So.
Yeah.
We have a thing here on this show called Lore Boys Canon, where we just kind of just make up a bunch of random ass conjecture, no matter how stupid, and that is probably the smartest sounding Lore Boys Canon we've ever had on the show. So I don't give a shit what this other YouTuber thinks because they're not here. So now we've got Anger Theory TM in the cards. So Elder Titan was also known as an innovator, which is likely a title given to him by himself, with being the only thing alive out in space. Probably just like talking to it. He the first thing he ever created was a sock puppet that he could talk to, like a Muppet, and he's just like, oh, I'm so fucking innovative.
That's the primordial brain creating Elder Titan as the sock puppet, right?
Yeah,
to talk to himself.
Yeah, well, it's like the exploding mind meme. It's just like Elder Titan, great innovator, and then whatever the last thing is just like shatter my own mind, and it's just like. So he seems to have grown bored at some point and figured that the primordial mind would like a little innovation, whether it knew it or not. So this is what you were talking about here. You've mentioned it a couple times. Anger, please tell the class how this went.
Well, what happened was, while creating and forging like Titans do, he made a little mistake and shattered something that can't be repaired. So that means both the primordial mind and his own mind, which is why when you play him in-game, he actually has an ability where he splits his mind, both in the physical plane and the astral plane. So, and he is scouring the Dodo Earth, trying to repair this shattering he did. And this shattering is known as the schism, which is when the primordial mind was exploded and shattered into many fragments. And among them, the ancients, which, as you know, in the title of Dota, it's Defense of the Ancients. So those ancients you are defending came from this shattering of the primordial mind, as well as, it was basically the Big Bang, because you also get the fundamental forces of the universe, gravity and space. Everything was created in the whole universe.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So
that was really cool, by the way. I just got lore shivers. I want to play Dota right now. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So during the creation of the universe, like she said, there was also the creation of the two ancients, which are Dire and Radiant. These are the in Dota.
Yeah.
As it were. So the hero Zet, the Arc Warden, was also created, and like she said, the entire event, that this like billionth of a second in which all this happened, is the schism.
Yeah.
So like any of us who have a sibling that was created alongside us in a trillionth of a second, no, like I do when my sister and I were formed at the beginning of time.
Right.
Dire and Radiant don't get along. They decided to pull reality apart and reshape it to fuel their conflict. Anger, could you explain what each ancient represents?
Okay, so here as well it's a little bit the what's the saying? Like the learned people are at war about it. Like people disagree a little bit.
There's debate.
Basically.
The scholars have a different.
Yes.
The Dota scholars. There's been a schism in the church.
Are you a Protestant in the Dota schism here? Have you
Or
have
a
you gone up
Catholic.
to Valve in Seattle and nailed your demands to the door yet?
Yeah.
I do actually sometimes email the writer of Dota 2
Oh, yeah.
about what I think and my findings, and asking if I find a new theory, asking if it's true or not. But he never responds.
Oh no, he's probably just like it's like Reverend Lovejoy in The Simpsons, where he's just loading up a big bag. He's just like, oh, I'm just off to the dump with these children's letters to God. It's the same thing with emails from anger.
When you
There's a
graduate-
USB that he throws out, like.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm more of a Mormon.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So a golden plate fell from the sky and told you what to believe in.
Well, because the Protestant would be earlier, maybe in 2014, maybe. But I only started in fully in 2018 with very
Okay.
new ideas that people hadn't heard before.
Oh yeah, you're right actually.
So I think maybe I'm actually more of a Mormon.
Are
Sorry,
you Joseph Smith? Like,
Yeah, you're the young Joseph Smith.
Yeah. But I actually, it's really weird to see how many theories have still been around when there's so many flaws in them, and I feel kind of like an asshole when I make videos basically disproving other people's theories. But at the same time, I feel it's necessary. We can't just repeat the same lies over and over just because it sounds cool. It has to be right.
Exactly. I'm sure Joseph Smith felt the same way. Like,
Yeah. Dota is a physical man who lives on a planet called Kolob.
But so basically, what I think, and I also think is right, is that they are both they are both opposites in every single way imaginable. You have one that's yin, one that's yang, one that's order, one that's chaos, one that's good and one that's evil, kind of. But at the same time, you can argue that both are evil or both are good. But more concretely, what each represents is the Dire is the chaos, the evil, the destruction, the everything associated with just destruction in general. And then on the
Aggression.
other hand, what did you say?
just like aggression, like.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, you have the Radiant, which is about creation, defense, but also enslavement. So the Dire might be destructive, but it's also freeing. It's like the Radiant is totalitarian, and the Dire is anarchy.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they're
we
both.
we have a virgin side and we have a Chad side.
Yeah.
And then it depends on who you're fighting for, is who's the virgin and the Chad. So they have the exact same meme, but they're palette swapped.
But so
Um,
and one other thing, so you will also have nature and technology. So the Radiant is also about nature and trees and fluorescent forests.
Okay.
And then on the Dire side, you will have technology and weapons.
I almost
inside-
I almost would have put them opposite, because like nature is chaotic in that it just happens, but technology is like designed. So I don't know. It's interesting to see them on the other side of the fence than I expected.
Well, nature is also like life-giving, and technology is cold and harsh, right? I could see both
Yeah.
sides. Yeah.
But also remember the nature one here, Radiant, is like, oh yeah, woohoo, creation and all that stuff. But it is also, like she said, totalitarian, and it represents both creation and slavery. So it's like, yeah, you've got a bunch of fresh fruit, but it's like a banana republic more than it is like a hippie co-op than anything.
Yeah.
to take it to a D&D alignment chart, and this is kind of what it sounds like to me, but rather than being like good or evil, it's kind of like lawful and chaotic, right?
yeah, exactly.
So you can have lawful good and lawful evil both on the same side, and you can have like chaotic good and chaotic evil both on the same side.
I would say both are evil, because that's like the whole point of all the IP games.
Okay, so like just evil, like there's no good, or
Well, I mean, you can argue it's good that the ancients are influencing the people to evolve, like in the Radiant or Dire way, but at the same time, they do it to enslave them or to gather them for their own side. So the Dire will make people more chaotic and good at fighting and more destructive, but it is because it wants them to fight for the Dire. Like that is why the diary is
Yeah.
doing it. So I wouldn't necessarily call it good because it's not from an altruistic or neutral perspective. It's very egoistic, you know.
Yeah, it's super like, hey,
And
choose my
ego-
side because it's best.
Isn't in the alignment charts, isn't ego basically always evil?
I mean,
Or-
I would probably argue like it seems narcissistic, which to me is an evil trait. But I'm sure you'd meet some CEO executive on Wall Street who's like, no, it's a positive trait to be.
You can find a
egotistic."
narcissistic person to say that narcissism is fine.
Yeah.
Excuse
so
me.
I don't know if we've mentioned this at all, but like we've called it Dota a lot, but it's Defense of the Ancients, right?
Yes.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
yes, but no.
Okay, well that's a twist now.
Not even the name is set in stone. I can't believe that the division goes so deep in this fucking community. I didn't realize what we were getting into.
Is Dawn of the Ancients the other version of it, or is that something else?
No, it's in Dota 1, it's Defense of the Ancients, but Dota 2 is just Dota 2. Like officially, that's what it is. We all
okay.
know it's supposed to be Defense of the Ancients, but it's officially just Dota 2. Like the
But
word.
maybe it's Dawn of the Ancients too, like Jamie says when he said that.
I think it's like the Fast 5 and the Fast and Furious. It's like, it's Fast 6 or whatever the fuck. right?
Yeah.
Which in Japan, they're called Wild Speed, and I think they should have just kept that title.
I mean, way better.
Yeah. So, moving on from the Ancients then. Elder Titan, which was hinted at earlier, Elder Titan also created the Fundamentals, which are like primordial gods that represent the forces of the universe. So we have Io the Wisp, Ezalor the Keeper of Light, Enigma the Consumer of Worlds, and Chaos Knight. So, Anger, if you want to explain who these fellows are, please take it away.
Okay, so I don't actually know a whole lot about physics, but basically they're the fundamental forces of physics. So you have strong force, weak force, electromagnetism, and
Gravity.
gravity. Yeah, maybe you can explain what each of those represents, because I just know they represent that, but I don't know exactly what that means.
So I know a lot about electromagnetism, okay, and gravity. I got magnets on my fridge, and my fridge is on the ground.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it's powered by both the strong and weak nuclear force.
I would say so. Yeah. I know there's a compressor in the back that makes things contract and expand, which makes my food cold.
Did you know that if you leave your fridge door open, it'll heat your apartment up?
Oh,
Because there'd be more
thermo-
heat coming out the back than cold from the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Laws of thermodynamics. Like
that's an
it
experiment you can do in the middle of summer, kids.
Yeah, exactly. Just, kids, if you're listening at home, just go open your parents' fridge and leave it open all day.
Burn out your fridge. Who cares?
Yeah, keep the apartment up. I don't know much about physics either. I know that those are the four forces. I know they're fundamental to nature, and we physicists don't understand them all that well.
Okay.
In particular, gravity, weirdly enough, but.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
things spin, hold down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But basically, if we look apart from like the physics aspect, there's also some more esoteric explanations. You know, you have Keeper of the Light, who made the first suns, and he's also, as well as weak force, he's also the light fundamental. Yeah.
Suns, as in stars, or suns
Yeah,
as
yeah,
in
yeah.
children? Okay.
Yes. And then you have Chaos Knight, who is both the strong force and chaos. So, you know, you have the Dire and the Radiant who is ordering chaos, but you also have Keeper of the Light and Chaos Knight who are also ordering chaos. And it actually, if you have read the Old Testament, the Bible, a lot of the creation story in Dota 2 is very similar to the creation stories. First there was darkness, the Chaos Knight, he came first, and then there was light, which is Keeper of the Light. And then there's also within the Greek creation story about how first one was formed and then the other. So you can say that the Chaos Knight and the Keeper of the Light are kind of like mini Dire and Radiant in that sense.
Okay.
But then you also have Io, who is just everywhere at the same time. He is across all 7 planes. He's what binds things together. And then there's Enigma, who is just gravity, and he's also about black holes, and he also he gets his power from the void.
They're
Okay.
also kind of order and chaos because gravity is very stable and holds things down, whereas because Io represents positive and negative charges, like atoms are wild, right? Like particles fly all over the place all the time.
I've known a
one-
couple guys named Adam. They're not that wild, Peter.
No, pretty sedated fellas.
Yeah, pretty milquetoast, honestly.
One of the funny notes about Chaos Knight and Ezalor, who is the keeper of the light, is the fact that Chaos Knight, despite being super chaotic, considers Ezalor to be like a renegade cop and a loose cannon, because Ezalor was like the first one to leave the plane of the gods. So there's
Okay.
There's also 7 astral planes and 7 hells that we'll touch on as well. But yeah, like the Keeper of the Light was like weak force or weak energy, and then. But he was the first one to leave the plane, and then the Chaos Knight, who's all about like, ooh, going crazy, making Sonic fanfics and shit. And he's just like, whoa, there, buddy. Why don't you slow the fuck down?
Yeah.
Eh? What are you leaving this astral plane? What? No, that's too crazy, even for me, sort of thing. He's Chaos Knight in name only. He's actually very tame when you get to know him.
Yeah. It's just it's an honorific. It's just a title.
Yeah, exactly. Was there anything else you wanted to develop there for the fundamentals? Because that's what I've got here for them.
No, that's it.
Very good. So beyond the ancients and the fundamentals, everything else in existence was created. So planets, space and time, the 7 planes and the 7 hells, like I said. I know in one of your videos you talked about the seven planes and the 7 hells. If you want to elaborate on any of that.
It's a lot. So how much do you want me to say? Like,
How?
Okay, I can just try, and then you can stop me if it's too much.
Yeah, if we get bored at like plane 5 or 6, we'll stop.
So basically, in esoteric cosmology IRL, like some people believe this, there's 7 planes of existence. We are on plane number 3, which is the terrene plane, or the physical plane, where we live and die. And then our souls exist in the astral plane, which is the 4th plane. And the reason why I started the 3rd plane is because the 1st plane is the mineral plane, where all minerals and rocks and stuff exist. And
Sodium,
Rocks have
man.
souls.
apparently, but we can.
Magic rocks, take a drink.
Fuck.
To be completely honest, I don't fully understand it. But
I don't think anyone does really understand
Yeah,
it.
But
people say they understand it, but nobody fully understands the soul of a rock.
Yeah.
Dwayne the Rock
The
Johnson
first-
is too mysterious.
the first place is like, it's crystals, it's rocks, and then the second plane, for some reason, is fairies and plants.
Yep.
I don't know why this is real.
Okay.
They think that not only do fairies exist, but they exist on the second plane.
Yeah.
If you assume they exist, you have to put them somewhere, right?
That,
So why not?
that would be an
Like a plane.
incomplete theory that no one could believe if you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
We're thinking
What do,
about
you mean,
like
what do you mean fairies exist? What plane do they live on then?
The second one.
Oh,
we
We
got-
got plants.
we got rocks on the first ones, then we got plants and fairies and humans. So fairies are less than human in this whole thing.
I
Yeah.
already
Basically.
believed that, to be fair.
Okay.
And I think that's part of the reason why you don't usually see them. You can't perceive them because they are in the second plane. Like, they exist everywhere around us, but they are in the second plane, so we can't see them. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Frickin' fairies.
And that's also why rocks and minerals, I think, appear less sentient, because we can't comprehend it.
The rocks are too big brain for us.
Yeah.
Well, they move
Or
at a pace
rather,
of
I think...
like
Oh, sorry.
every 100 years they're moving so slowly, right? Like their whole plan is just like a different scale from ours. But
Yeah.
Yeah, and how that translates into the Dota world is that there's these different rock heroes, like a hero called Tiny, one called literally just Earth Spirit. You have Earthshaker, all these heroes that became sentient from the rocks.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Are there fairy
similar-
heroes?
yes,
You
similarly,
can't see
you
them.
also have a fairy realm that is the second plane, and you also have different plant heroes that exist in the second plane. You have living trees and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third plane.
I mean, this is like League of Legends. There's a rock hero and there's a tree hero, and
yeah.
I just like that. I just like that sentence you just said there. It's like there's living trees and shit. Like, all right, yeah.
oh yeah, okay.
And then the third plane is where the battle of the ancients is happening. That's where our heroes, most of our heroes exist. Like when you are playing Dota 2, they are on the third plane. But many heroes, like for example, Elder Titan, Keeper of the Light, the fundamentals, the primordial heroes, we call them, the ones that were existed before, or while the universe was being created, all of them can travel between the planes.
Okay.
So
They're planeswalkers for Magic the Gathering again.
That's actually a perfect place to go now, because to loop it back to Elder Titan, he's actually currently wandering the 7 planes looking to reunite everything and cover up his fuck up after shattering the primordial mind. So he's just like, okay, I gotta check. Like, okay, gotta see what's going on here. I'm gonna check with the fairies, see if they found my keys. Then I'm gonna check, and then I'm gonna check with all those rock dudes because I cannot find my other shoe. And he's just like, kind of,
Where's my favorite rock? Oh God, where's my favorite rock?
Yeah, he lost his pet rock, and it's just in a pile of other rocks. He's just like, oh my God, you can't tell them apart. And this loops into, which I found super interesting. This is a similar quest as the Arc Warden, who is Zet, I believe, I think is his name, and the player character in Artifact. So as a card player in Artifact, you're kind of embodying some kind of being that is playing Artifact as a way to explore different timelines and prevent the destruction of the universe. So I don't know. Yeah. Anger, go for it. Yeah.
That's a very good explanation. It's simply, very concretely, the story is that they played the card games, and then a king that shouldn't have died got killed when they replayed the timeline a little bit differently, which caused another character to then go to war. So there's been a huge shift in the timeline in Artifact. Like, that's the main story of Artifact, that they did play this game and did replay different timelines in order to get a different outcome. And it started this huge war that is affecting, like, everything. What was your question?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's exactly, that just explain Artifact to me, a man who's never seen a card game in his life. It's about fixing time travel.
I think that's really clever. Okay. Like, the fact that when you play a card game, the heroes you play from your deck versus the enemy's deck, that's literally the battle and the new timeline they're creating. You know? I think that's a really clever way of doing it.
It's kind of cool to think, like, there's, however many quadrillion, trillion ways to shuffle a single deck of cards. So, like, and there's, a quadrillion, trillion ways to play out a timeline, I guess.
Thankfully,
so
with the amount of players on Artifact, there's about 3 or 4 timelines running right now. Real easy to manage. So that's like the context for Artifact, which is pretty fucking neat. So Zet, the Arc Warden, seeing the destruction brought on by the warring Dire and Radiant, used his immense power to trap them both together inside a sphere called the Mad Moon, which he then just yeeted out into space and presumably congratulated himself, like, well, never have to deal with that again.
Yeah.
Then you got Gravity, which apparently has some other plans, and the Mad Moon got tidally locked in orbit around a third rock from the sun called Earth.
Yeah. Or it's actually not ever described as Earth, just a planet.
Just fantasy Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like Lore Boys canon, because in doing my research, obviously I used a lot of Anchor's material, because it's very well put together. And you referred to it as Earth, and I was like, well, sounds right to me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue.
It's Earth asterisk.
But we're still now, because the transition, so now we are still on the creation of the universe. Like, we're still very early in the story, right?
Yes, because the Mad Moon has just arrived for Lore Boys canon, or is going to be Earth, just easier.
Sorry, can we go over what the Mad Moon's about again? Who was put in there?
The Dire and Radiant.
Okay,
when they were created during the schism, they started fighting so much, the whole universe became cataclysmic. And this was before there was any, like, normal life, It was still right after the schism, super early in the universe. And the whole universe was about to break because they were fighting so violently. And that's when their third sibling, the Arc Warden, who also came from the Shattering of the Primordial Mind, he decided to trap them in a prison. And that prison is the Mad Moon, a spheric prison.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Is the Arc Warden aligned like Dire or Radiant?
No, he is true neutral.
Okay, perfect.
Must be tough to sleep in a circular prison, huh? If you like
Too
just
busy fighting.
roll around all the time and
If you can get your feet up on the
actually,
desk
he's
and set your
walking
hands underneath your legs, I think you could probably get pretty comfortable. That's a pre-recording meme right there. What were you gonna say, Anger? Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say I said wrong. He's actually lawful neutral because his fate is as you will come back to later. His fate becomes trying to reunite the primordial mind.
Yeah.
So that makes him lawful.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So-
yeah.
Now the
But he
Mad-
doesn't take either side. Like he's not more radiant or dire.
Yeah.
So now that the Mad Moon is in orbit, unlike the shitty hollow moon that we have that the CIA put up during the Cold War, the Mad Moon, the Mad Moon gave Earth magic, and people and fantasy races developed and flourished. At some point, I guess, like wandering through eternity, Zet rediscovered the Mad Moon in orbit around Earth and giving everybody super cool magic powers. And he was like, well, that really puts a wrinkle in my plans of never dealing with this again. So I'm gonna take this one. You know what? I'll take the L, and then we'll go from here. He knew he was actually too weak to do anything. So when he was kind of guarding the Mad Moon and making sure nothing went awry, it was kind of like robbing a store with a gun with no bullets. Where he was just like, keep an eye on you in there, ancients.
Or I'll shoot you with the bullet that I have in the
Or
gun
else.
right here.
Yeah, don't make me come in there. It's like, yeah, why don't you? It's like, you don't want me to.
Yeah, I will in a minute.
Yeah, gotta pee first. So basically, well, Anger, what do you have when you have two warring ancients inside a spherical prison and a warden with absolutely no ability to stop them?
Then you will eventually have a sundering.
Yeah, and what happened? What happened there exactly?
Well, basically, the Mad Moon exploded because the warring ancients had been eroding the prison over time. Like, we're talking eons, like many centuries. Super long time. And they shattered the prison, and instead of keeping their form of being like one full ancient here, they were shattered. Like their bodies were shattered into many fragments that landed on Earth. So now you got Radiant Ore and Dire Stone, it's called, that increased the influence on evolution even more rapidly. Like the radiation basically helped evolution accelerate. And they also started enslaving, or actually before this, already in the sky, before they sundered, they were already influencing people a little bit to follow either side. But then when it crashed down, it just got accelerated even further.
Well, presumably if just the presence of the Mad Moon was giving people magic, presumably it was either one of their magics, right? Like the Dire or
Yeah.
the Radiant. So you get I got dire magic, so I guess I'll worship the Dire guy because he's giving me cool ass magic, you know?
Yeah. So, for example, the poster boy of Dota 2, Axe, he's big and red and a brute. He's not very intelligent. His people, the Aglodes, which they are called, which is basically red orcs.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
It's theorized that they were settled around a lot of Dire Stone because they represent a lot of the Dire, whereas the more nature-y heroes were maybe settled around Radiant Ore and used Radiant clothes. Like the int heroes, the intelligent heroes, often have items that have Radiant Ore in them, whereas the strength heroes often have Dire.
Dire Stone.
Yeah.
So the Dire Stone and the Radiant Ore, did those come from the Mad Moon explode, like sundering?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And landed on Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they changed the landscape as well. So they kind of reformed the world around them, just kind of based on the different ancients' favorite ways of killing time. So you've got chaos and destruction, and then you've got the creation and enslavement. They created themed parts of the world where you could just evolve under that.
It's Disneyland and Universal Studios.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got as much anarchy as Universal Studios and as much slavery as Disneyland. the Dire and the Radiant of our world would be When you've got magic rocks in the sky, one, take a drink, and they start raining down and reforging the earth. The best thing you would want to do is probably create both a religion and an army of zealots around them. And then we've got the two founders of these irresponsible rock worshipping religions. And you want to explain who they are, Anger?
Yeah, I would love to do that because I think it's so great writing. It's so good. Because first of all, you have the Dire and the Radiant, which I described like what they each represent. And then you have these two new heroes, Prelex and Kana, who they're so beautifully written to completely what's the word? Catch what their ancient is all about. Because basically you have Prelex, who is a mother, like a helicopter mom, who likes creating things. She's all about nature. She's all about worship, like very
pious.
Pious, yeah.
That's kind of the slavery part, the control thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super duper radiant. And then you have her daughter who got like tattoos and piercings, rebelled.
Come on, leave me alone. I want to worship the Dire.
Yeah. So
Not my
you have
house,
the
young
rebelling
lady.
daughter and the helicopter mom. It's just it's so great. And they both became each of their priestesses of the Dire and the Radiant. And when you think about it, first there's order, and then there is chaos. So it's starting with the mother and then the daughter. It just makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially with the rebellious young daughter, like I don't know, I just imagine like a big chunk of Dire Stone sitting in the front seat of a convertible wearing a leather coat, and she's just like, "Let's get out of here. My mom's so lame."
I was just gonna say, like, the Dire very much is the leather jacket wearing crowd, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Super edgy.
With
Yeah.
the comb.
Yeah. And then the Radiant is, I guess, like they wear mittens, right? Like when it gets cold.
What's mittens?
Gloves without fingers, just a thumb, like a lobster.
Yeah, like that.
That's funny. Yeah, you got all the Dire Stone smoking behind the bleachers at the football. At like
Yeah.
during a Dota game, you've got a bunch of Dire Stone smoking behind like behind the item shop.
I guess you set it up at the beginning, but it's the nerds and the jocks, right?
Yeah, I didn't actually do that on purpose. It's just, there just are no original ideas, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah.
One thing to note though, Kana and Prelex, their fight was before the Mad Moon sundered. I don't know if you specified that.
No,
But-
I didn't. I was just specifying that they set up religions around the ancients themselves, but not actually in any order. Just because for me, when I was putting this together, it seemed a little unclear.
Yeah, sorry. Basically, while the Mad Moon was still in the sky and influencing the Earth, that's when Kana and Prelex, and it's theoretized by me, that this was before any of the other heroes. Kana and Prelex was before, basically, or there was maybe some heroes, some of the old ones around, but this was so fucking early. It's like completely before everything else. And they were anticipating the Mad Moon because Prelex, the mother, she is talking about the Radiant speaking to her about violet sky, a sundered moon. So it hasn't happened yet. And she's also building an altar to welcome her ancient. So it hasn't happened yet.
So
And then
Prelex and Kana are either preparing for the arrival or preparing for the sundering, or are they like actively helping in the sundering in any way?
no, I don't think they're helping. I think they're just awaiting it.
Just waiting.
Prelex
Yeah.
was just because she loves order so much, setting up just one big fucking net. She's like, if it explodes, it's gonna land here. Trust me.
Yeah.
I'll crunch the numbers. I think.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Kana's just like spreading nets as far as she can. Like, it's gonna land somewhere.
A
Like,
bunch of small nets,
Yeah.
or just laying down a bunch of newspaper, just like, whatever. I'll clean up the mess later.
So,
Is-
and it's actually not known exactly what happens when the moon sunders, the prison explodes and lands on Earth, how that affected the outcome. We don't know how the battle between Kana and Prelex concluded. We don't know anything about that.
Okay. We don't know what happened to the tides, or
No.
if werewolves
Oh, yeah.
couldn't transform anymore.
Oh yeah, that's true. Werewolves definitely couldn't transform anymore.
Yeah.
Now, if the moon exploded while you were currently, because obviously the Earth is a sphere, it's nighttime and daytime in different places.
That's an
if the
opinion,
moon
yeah.
Yeah. You just got we discussed this, Jamie. You've got like a bunch of people around the world brushing their teeth at the same time in union,
Yeah.
right? If the moon was out and you were in werewolf form, and then it blew up, but you were a werewolf on the other side of the planet in a different time zone, would you be stuck as a werewolf, and would you never be able to become a werewolf again?
Well, I have to ruin that interesting question
Son of a
because
bitch.
the planet has a regular moon too.
Oh, there's two.
Yeah.
So you just can't be a super werewolf anymore. Now you're just back to regular werewolf.
Yeah, dang it. Okay. Does daylight savings time affect werewolves?
Surely it must.
Yeah.
They gotta adjust their schedules for that.
Yeah, exactly.
They like it.
Yeah.
They go up north for half the year, and then they go way down south for half the year, and they just
Yeah.
get their like full werewolf hours.
Oh,
It
they
really takes a lot out of the system when you're transforming this much. Like, I
Yeah.
transform an hour earlier, it goes from like 1 to 3 in the morning. I just can't handle it.
Yeah.
they don't.
Or do you think they get jet lag when they travel? Like they're
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, werewolf lag.
Uh,
I was a werewolf for an extra hour on that plane. It just was so exhausting.
Yeah.
or you'd like transform while catching up on sleep at home and like wake up covered in fur. You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
So, what else do you want to do with these magic rocks other than worship them? You probably want to break them down and turn them into relics and weapons to help you destroy other magic rocks and the people who love that other rock.
Mhm.
So you're really going to want to go to war about this. Now, from what I understood, Anger, this is kind of where Underlords fits in. Is Underlords a series of smaller, more localized fights?
Can you also explain Underlords? Because I don't even really know what Underlords is.
It's a video
Yeah.
game, Jamie. Get with the fucking program.
So after the artifact war that I talked about, like the new war that's set out in Roseleaf between Sorla Khan and Legion Commander, they had a war, and after that is when Underlords takes place. So after one timeline that was created in Artifact, that's when Underlords take place.
Okay.
Like that specific one. And basically, and I don't blame Valve for this, but I'm gonna criticize them a little bit because the lore in Underlords is kind of ridiculous. Like
ridiculous than
more
Living
so
Water right
than more
It's been
so
very
than
Mormon
Underlords.
up till now, and
Now we're getting to the
Right.
Scientology shit, boys.
Because basically, these underlords, in this city called Whitespire, there was this character, Mama Eve, who was controlling the city. And this city is full of smugglers and scummy people, like all sorts of criminals.
Mhm.
And she kept control and order over them. But then she was assassinated. So now her underlords, like her 4 undermen,
There's like a power
Uh,
vacuum.
yeah,
She's the
they are now
overlord.
fighting to
There's
take
the
her
underlord.
place. Yeah. So she was the lord, they were the underlords.
Mm-hmm.
And now they are fighting for who is going to become the new lord of Whitespire. And then, to do that, they are recruiting heroes to fight on their side against the other underlords. Like, that is the premise of the game. But it
Okay.
doesn't really make any sense, because why would fucking the fundamental forces of the universe be participating in little shitty brawls in some shitty city? Arch Warden, fight there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
Well,
sense.
he fucked up his whole keeping the ancients inside the Mad Moon. So he's probably just like, listen, my pub closed down when the overlord of the city was assassinated. Now I just need a place down to sit down and drink now.
I just googled it, by the way.
Underlords?
Yeah. So there's like 4 characters. There's like a mouse with a voodoo mask, a big guy who looks like a walrus with an upside down question mark around his neck, a guy with fire hair, and then a girl with horns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like the walrus with the upside down question mark goes to the voodoo mask wearing rat and is like, oh, I'm gonna be the new lord of this city. I got this leader of this red orc tribe, and the mask wearing rat is like, oh yeah, well I got the fundamental force of gravity, so you know here we are. Let's duke it out, dude.
And the weaver of reality, like,
Oh yeah, that.
it's ridiculous.
So can I jump in now and ask, how are those like forces balanced in terms of actual Defense of the Ancients, like an actual match? Is there like a canonical, the other ancient is focusing his energy on the opponents that are stronger to kind of make everyone balanced in the same power level, or?
Well, no, because you do have characters like, for example, Batrider, who literally just was a guy who likes to fly bats and also likes to catch them on fire.
All right.
And then you know you have the Keeper of the Light, you know. So it doesn't actually make any sense that a Batrider can kill a Keeper of the Light, you know.
I'm gonna say Lore Boy's canon. The less powerful you are, the more easy it is for an ancient to infuse you with power. So like Batrider just has more energy pumping into him for this fight or something.
I would love to see the pre-game, like, you know that scene in every war movie when everybody's having a conversation before the last fight, and then the guy who's like 2 days before retirement has to die.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be like Keeper of the Light sitting there, like passes a smoke over to Batrider. He's like, "What are you here for?" He's like, "Oh, I created all the stars in the sky a trillion years ago. What about you?" He's like, "Nah, man, I like to ride bats.
I like bats, dude.
I like to smoke.
They call me Batrider.
Bats are neat." And I love some of the generic names they had to take for legal reasons, where it's just like, I would love to be there at the meeting where they're like giving people titles. It's like, "And ye, I bequeath upon thee name, Keeper of the Light, and ye, Batrider."
Batrider.
He's
You
like,
can be
"Not even
walrus
at
with
that
upside down
point."
question mark.
I'm trying to remember what I used to play. It was a guy who had a hook move that could pull someone in. And
Pudge.
it was
Pug.
Yeah. He's like a meat
Pug or
monster.
puck? Yeah, he's basically like an abomination from World of Warcraft, but just like tweaked a bit.
Yeah. I was gonna call him
Yeah,
Patches, but
Yeah,
Patches.
that's World of Warcraft.
yeah, exactly.
Patchwork.
Patrick, yeah.
So, so Underlord Zed is just a bunch of crazy, out of context street fights between the forces of nature and a bunch of surly drunks.
Yeah, they kind of try to explain it, because one of the Underlords is a Nesix, and she's a demon, and she is like trying to actually gain control of the world and also the primordials and everything. She's trying to gain control of everything, which I can get behind, but she does it by fucking trying to win over a city. Like, it makes no sense.
Start
Like,
small.
it's
I think she's ambitious, but she's not stupid, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I feel I can't stop but feeling that it's really lazy and kind of just hurried, and they kind of had to, because when, I don't know if you remember, but Dota Auto Chess was a mod in Dota 2 that
Yeah.
became super crazy popular
Yeah.
around a year ago, and then Valve basically in like a few months, or just 2 months or something, made this entire game, Dota Underlord. So I can kind of understand that they had to rush the lore, and they didn't really have time to like make it properly make sense. So with what they had, with what they got, I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But I will still criticize it.
Valve
So
is
I-
kind of crazy. It's like,
Yeah,
it seems
for-
like everyone's kind of going in a different direction whenever you think about Valve, because
Yeah.
there's so many teams that are isolated from everything else that's going on, and
Just give him free reign.
I like
Yeah.
what they do. Like, I love Valve games, but
Take
the
all of our-
organization's interesting.
Take all of our extremely valuable IP and just make a game with whatever kind of story you want out of it. With
Yeah.
this thing that's now popular. Like, okay, boss.
Yes, Gabe.
So you mentioned Underlords. Peter brought up Underlords, and I, like Jamie, did not know what Underlords was, but I do very much know what Auto Chess is, and I knew that they made an official game out of it. I just didn't know it was called anything but Auto Chess.
Yeah, same.
All right. So yeah, on to more important battles, I guess. That's not just like street fights. The armies of the Radiant and the Dire would are fight with the player during a game of Dota 2. However, every Dota match itself represents the last battle of a certain timeline, where one ancient is not defensed and is destroyed, thus resetting the timeline.
Yeah.
So if you want to go into more of that, Anchor, please.
Yeah, I don't know, I think that's a pretty good description, actually. I don't know what more there is to say. The defense of the ancients, the game you play in Dota 2, and every game of Dota 2 is canon. It's just different timelines of different heroes that team up with different ancients. And
Every
when
fucking
one,
Russians in every timeline.
and
Go ahead.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. And when one ancient is destroyed, the way they protect themselves is by resetting the timeline, going back to the void, and then you have the primordial mine and the shattering. So then it goes back to that again and starts a new timeline. So they are, and I think it's a bit weird because it's unclear if they are all the timeline are at the same time, or if they're all one after another. If they're all one after another, I think playing Artifact the different timelines that way would be a bit tedious, having to wait like eons each time. So they have to be at the same time
At the
and
same
after
time, I
one
think.
another. So, you know, that's also something that's not clear.
Artifact
So-
games
so-
take at least 45 minutes. Nobody's got that kind of time to wait for the next timeline, right? Yeah.
So when they play Artifact, when the two kings or whatever are playing Artifact, and they're like reading the card, it's like a tarot deck, and they're like reading the timelines, and it always ends the same way, I guess, with one of the ancients dying.
Well, in Artifact, you don't actually play as the two this big war that's going on. Some of the cards are about that war, but not all of them. So you can actually play a full deck without a single character participating in that war. So you are also playing all sorts of events in Dota history. But that big battle, that was the main story of the first set.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
A cool thing about Artifact, if you guys haven't played it, I think what it makes it stand out from other card games is that, like a MOBA, it has 3 lanes. So you're fighting in 3 lanes, and you can either win super dominantly in 1 lane or half win in 2 lanes. And I think those are the win conditions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really cool idea for a game, and it's just too bad it didn't take off as much as Valve hoped for it to. But I enjoyed playing it, other than that the games were long.
We'll see what happens going forward, right? Like, because I heard about Dota 2.0 as well, just because I follow the YouTuber Valve News Network, which is how I found Anger. And he tweeted out like a couple days ago or yesterday, just like, "Holy fuck, guys, it's happening!" And so did you, for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I found out about it. It was just through Twitter. But yeah, so we went from the creation of the universe and the void all the way up to the end of all time and the reset. So that, for me, would be Dota and Dota 2.
It oughta be.
It
Oh my god. let's can the episode start over, Ethan, for that one.
yeah, as one of the lore boys dies, the podcast resets and starts at episode 1. We're talking about the Legend of Zelda again. So I have been your host, Peter O'Donohue. You can find me at Pete O'Donohue on Twitter and at Loreboys Podcast on Instagram. I'm doing a bunch of quarantine shit posts there if you want to see, trying to stay sane with my pets and my toilet paper. And Ethan, if I wanted to hoard things in your apartment, how could I do that?
You can tweet at me at Ethan the Deadman, and I'll store your contaminated shit for you.
And,
Jambo?
Yeah, you can find me on the internet. And for our very special guest, Anger, where can we find you? Please plug your stuff. I want to know where to go watch these Dota vids, because I'm definitely more interested now than I was before. And I might even re-download the game, because it sounds like a lot of fun. So where can we find you?
Oh, let me know if you want to play.
Okay, I will. I will.
I'm an awful teacher.
Hey, you taught me about Dota, and I'm an idiot. So
Yeah, you're good at teaching lore at the very
We're
least.
both idiots. We're on the same
You have more room for the dire to fill you or whatever, right?
But you can find my stuff on YouTube. I'm called Angermania. On Twitter and Instagram, where I post, for example, my artwork. I make a lot of fan art for Dota at Angermania P. And then
Angermaniac.
Yeah, Angermania. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks so
do you have
much
anything
for
else you want
coming.
to plug? Do you have a Patreon or anything like that that people might want to track down?
Yeah, I do. But yeah, it's also Angermania. But I don't think is anyone that listens to this gonna sign up to my Patreon.
We
They
have
might.
something called the Lore Boys Bump. You may get 3 to 5 extra views per video. We're real big on the internet.
Yeah, we're kind of a big deal. out here.
Yeah. All 3 of them are us just paying you back by watching all of your videos, and then maybe
Yeah.
some other people. Yeah.
I'll watch ads, I promise.
Well, if you wanna be my exclusive simp, you can find my Patreon at Angermania.
Very
Nice.
Don't plug your egirl.gg because Jamie's got exclusive rights on the Lore Boys.
Oh my god, yeah. If you guys go into the WoW section, you can find me. I'm available from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Monday every day of the week. And I'm Jimbo on there. You can pay...
And what's the price?
It's $6.9 per game or per hour. So
Nice.
I'll run you guys through some stuff if you guys want to be my simp. But,
Yeah. All right, and now we have a Patreon as well. It's Lore Boys Podcast. But if you don't trust Patreon because fuck the middleman, we have
How
Lore
could
Boys
you?
Prime. And Ethan, I think we have a very good deal this week.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a weird coincidence. My girlfriend and I, we were just sitting in my apartment, self-quarantined, and I decided to open the window, get a little bit of fresh air in the apartment, wash out some of the virus. And I could have swore I saw the moon exploding, and these two rocks landed in my apartment. It's the craziest thing. There was a red one and there was a white one. So my girlfriend and I were planning on keeping them. We made necklaces. They kind of made us like a little bit, like, just feel good, But then we started fighting a lot. Like, we're not getting along anymore. So I've decided I want to get rid of these necklaces, and I'm sure this won't start any kind of, massive global conflict that will result in a timeline being reset or anything like that. But the first two people to tweet at me will receive one of these necklaces with a red stone and a white stone.
$39.99 though. Lore Boys Primate free.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not.
Per necklace.
Yeah.
And I guess
that constitutes a Anger and Lore Boys
out.
Out.
I guess.
Out.
Peace.